the specified time is so limited. It's a book of 378 pages. I could just jot down some of the sentences from it. It's an adventurous thriller by the latest Indian writer, Amish, popularly known as Amish. अभी तो short नाम कर दिया है उन्होंने, अमी बुलाते हैं उसको. He speaks about the journey of Sita from her childhood to a trained warrior or a soldier, to a ruler, and finally the goddess. We have seen Ram temples throughout our country, but there are exclusively, particularly in Nepal, and there's a Sitamari. There's specifically the temple, they show the identity of Sita. Anyhow, I'm not going for that. After writing the popular books on Shiva trilogy, The Secrets of Naga, The Sign of Ishkwaku on Rama, the writers speak about Sita. He says our scriptures are full of Vedic wisdom. The ancient culture is so rich, it cannot be just limited to some drama or some TV serials. We are liberal-minded people and still rediscovering ourselves. Still there is a lot of scope. I used to read comics during my childhood or just listen to my grandparents, least realizing that when my brilliant career of IIM as a successful banker holding 5-figure salary will turn me into a full-fledged, full-time writer. He says the day I realized that the return or my honor what I get from my first book on Shiva, the trilogy, the check was heavier than my 1 month's salary. I told my boss, I'm going to quit. And I turned me into a full-fledged writer for modern generation. Most of my writings are based upon Valmiki Ramayana, Kamba Ramayana, Adbhut Ramayana, or Kamba Ramayana, which says that there was no Lakshman Rekha for Sita. Most of the writings are based on that, plus I've studied many other scriptures from other religion, and this is my analysis. Most of us have a vision of the iconic character of Sita either through the TV serials of Ramanand Sagar or from the Tulsi Ramayana as a Adarsh Bharatiya Nari, as we all worship it. God is not mathematics or physics which can be verified and proved. Jaki rahi bhavana jaisi, Prabhu Murat, din pai vaisi, and I also believe in that. Sita was a trained warrior. She was a Rishi Kanya, as trained by the ashrams, by gurus. It says that centuries old there was chaos all around in the world. The demon like Ravan was spreading his wings throughout all around. A protector was needed and the search begins. Raja Janak and Queen Swadena, they find an abandoned child from the fields which was being protected by a vulture from the wolves in the jungle. The couple brings the baby to the palace and name it Janaki, the daughter of Raja Janak, Maithili, the princess of Mithila, Vaidehi, the Bhumi Putri, and she was meant to defend Dharma and rule the powerless kingdom of Mithila. As she was growing, she showed the signs to be a good fighter. She was sent to learn the skill to be a fighter. In olden days, the Rishi Kanyas, they were trained, but they were told in their ears that keep it as a secret and use it only when required, particularly to protect dharma. It is mentioned that the Sita Swayamvar was also one act of that. And it is also mentioned that Sita was a reincarnation of Vedavati, whom Ravan chased once and got a curse that एक पुत्री पैदा होगी जो तुम्हारा सर्वनाश करेगी. At her birth, she was put in a gold-studded box and she was offered to Varun Devta, the goddess of sea, who in returns returned it to the fields or the shores, and it was found by Mithila Naresh, Raja Janak. The exile of 14 years was for Rama, not for Sita, but she insisted for a reason. She insisted knowingly that Maryada Purushottam will not fight unless there is a reason, and I should be the reason for it, to destroy the demon king. Fictions and non-fictions, they never end with a full stop. They always leave behind many questions to be answered and many more debates. The book of Amish Tripathi, he is a modern writer for the modern generation to put his viewpoint in his own way, recently honored by University of Berkeley as the bestseller of selling 505 million books within a span of 1 year. He is the latest writer. I conclude just with a sentence. Sita is not an ordinary child. She is a tall, fierce warrior who had courage and skill. She was born to protect Dharma, establish Ram Rajya, so that Rama is known as a good ruler and a good king. And finally, she decides to be a Vishu Kanya, instead remaining as a queen. Thank you very much. Just a few sentences.